Talking Toilets with Alex Hope and William Smith.
Hello and welcome back to Talking Toilets, the show where we talk toilets, quite literally. How have you been this week, Alex?
I've been absolutely fine. I'm proud to bring the first Talking Toilets episode in full sweat-o-vision.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just had a shower, but I feel like I might have showered 3 days ago. That's where I am currently. And because you can't record without the window closed, it's the greenhouse effect. So, yeah.
It is awful. It is awful.
I haven't really had that varied a toilet experience this week, if I'm being honest. But mostly service stations. A lot of it's reopened quite vastly now. So, you know how I was saying a few weeks back, the service station has like a one-way system?
Yep.
That is now on the floor only. It's like watching... It's like watching your designed city, say, on a simulator, and you like plan things in your head and you forget to put them onto the actual simulator. And then when you press go, everything just explodes and crumbles because you didn't put in... Did you ever do that bridge simulator at school? At my school, there was like a crafting simulator where you could like build a bridge and then you'd press play and then cars and lorries would travel across it. And because you aren't an engineer, you're a 14-year-old boy, your bridge would collapse or wobble or rock. Do you ever remember doing something like that?
Never.
Anyway, toilets.
What year were you in when you did that?
I think it was about second or third year in Scotland, which is like, for you, it's like year 9 or 10, I think.
Oh, wow. No,
Yeah.
I wasn't building bridges with a simulator, no.
Were you not? You
No.
still on blocks and holes?
Still on the times table thingy.
Academies, eh? You didn't go to an academy, did you?
No, I didn't know. I just went to like a comprehensive.
Keeping it real, yeah?
Keeping it real. It was the kind of school that like tries to become a sports technology school to get more funding. Like builds a sports hall,
right?
Giant, and then the whole thing floods. So it means that you lose all accreditation. It can just be used as a damp exam hall. It's horrible.
Okay. But good for gardening class, yeah?
Yeah, good for horticulture, yeah, definitely. My toilet experience this week have not been hugely monumental. I've used my own toilet a lot. It's insufferably hot. It's impossible to escape.
You're like window locked, aren't you, in that room?
Yeah,
there's no windows, no ventilation. No. Do you even have an extractor fan in that room?
Yeah, we've got an extractor fan, which I think it makes a lot of noise, so it's definitely costing electricity somehow.
Yes.
And you'd hope it's extracting something. But I suppose the most interesting thing about what's happened in my toilet here is to do with my cat. Because there's this strange relationship where the cat is fascinated by water and doesn't like to not be in the same room as you. So, especially in the mornings, it's impossible. You can't have a solitary poo. You've got to have a poo with the cat.
Do you not find it relaxing to poo in the room on your own and hear the scratches on the door and that's quite relaxing, isn't it?
Yeah, and the meowing as well. It's the first poo of the day as well, so I don't particularly want a cat jumping up on the bath in order to try to get on my legs while I'm kind of mid-poo, sweating. There is one positive, and it's that we've got a completely white cat who sometimes at night, it's a kitten, so sometimes might get a little bit of poo on him. So when he comes and stands on my lap while I'm pooing, I can clean his arse effectively just before I clean my arse.
Right, okay. So when you said a bit of poo on him, my mind had wandered. And I was thinking that you were a bit groggy this morning and a little bit, like you've misplaced
shit.
Something. No, you just grabbed for the wrong white fluffy thing to clean your arse. So now that I know that you're actually, caring like a father for your youngling, and that's it's allayed a few fears that I've had.
Good. I did get a pair of scissors and put them in the toilet so that I could then trim some of the hair around his anus so that I could prevent him from getting shit caught in his bum. Which is proven it before when I tried to do the same action to the poor cat. he responded with what I would expect anyone to respond with when someone tries to cut your bum hair without asking, which was just kind of sheer fear and confusion and
Flat
almost
as a
like
board, 6 foot in the air.
you betrayed the cat's trust. But I've realised that when I'm pooing, so when I'm vulnerable, and the cat decides to stand on me while I'm pooing, he kind of the boundary of being able to cut the hair from his anus is broken down.
Cut the anus.
I need to let.
So you've gone a bit
back.
Nicky Clark on him, basically.
Yeah. But no, yeah. I suppose I used mine the work toilet for the first time because I'm now back at work.
You're back at work,
and that's a weird feeling because also like I haven't, on the 4th of July we're going to open to serve customers, and it's just the 1 meter rule it's impossible. Regarding the toilets, you've just got 2 toilets downstairs, down a thin stairway, through a thin, hall, and it used to be a prison, so they're just basically old cells. The toilets, It's just impossible. And my ops team are just like it's the same everywhere. What can you do?
Right, so they're willingly marching us towards a non-sober end, basically.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult because I don't blame them. Because the government have written this 41-page kind of response that hospitality venues have to follow. And, they've been so unspecific and so lenient with the rules, which is why it's so long. And it's kind of like, it's you have to be a meter away, but it's my mouth a meter away from your mouth, which means that our chairs could be essentially touching as long as I'm sat. And a meter is not it's not
No,
a big.
It's
distance.
also it's like as Barnum Castle was. It's as open to interpretation. I think like a meter can be a diagonal meter. So from your hips to the floor, that could be a meter, and you could stand in that gap. If you remember meter sticks at school, don't you? The sort of ones with blue and white. Did you just go to school in a sort of in a gym hall? Was it pop up? Are you a refugee? Are you a Swedish refugee?
I don't remember getting meter poles out.
No?
At all. No.
So how on earth, where's your point of reference? For me, when I was a kid, I have a very distinct reference of a meter stick where I held out my hand and my hand's your wingspan.
Yeah.
And half of my body. No, because that's now. So the meter stick covered at least 2/3 of my arm. So I was quite comfortably aware, and I've kind of in my mind's eye seen that meter stick go down as I've grown. Do you see what I mean?
Okay. I do kind of see what you mean. It's interesting that you're trying to judge my education by the fact that you're playing around with sticks. And I could, if I was to tell you, the way I would measure a meter is by going, okay, how many feet is that? And then using my feet to roughly estimate.
Oh God.
And how many meters?
You mean feet and inches, not how many of your feet that is?
Yeah, but it's in feet, it's a measurement,
So because I was fully metric as a kid. So did you do imperial?
Oh, I just did everything.
You did did it all.
You did everything. So 1 meter is 3.2 foot.
Yeah,
and then that's going to be 39 inches.
Inches. What's a yard?
A yard, so you do it in yards.
It's the thing that you put out front of your house.
No, a meter. I think a meter is just over. So 1.1 or 1.09 of a yard is 1 meter.
Okay.
They're similar lengths.
I love that our podcasts are getting very numbery recently.
They are getting numbery. It was just trying to back up.
But going back to the point. Would you rather
go to a school that let you play around with sticks, or go to a school where you'd learn numbers?
You learn all metrics. Just all circles of reference. No, I missed out on that. We obviously didn't have very much of a thing for branching out in Scotland. On your toilets, you haven't, and on my toilets as well. This is sort of a link. Dubious, of course. But you said that you're reopening these jailhouse toilets, which, as far as I can remember, if you're doing cubicles, especially as a man, especially as a woman there, are you still doing the unisex thing as well?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So, like, the cubicles are very, segregated. So there isn't like an underpass of air or an overpass of air. It's just one door and the actual, like, prison walls. But, like...
Are you asking, is it really hot?
Well, it's going to be really hot. I know that for sure.
No,
but
it's not.
I'm more saying...
It's the coolest place because they're like old police cells. It's like stone, the walls.
But it must be quite easy. Okay, fair enough. It must be quite easy to socially distance them, though. Like, apart from the waiting thing.
Apart from the waiting, the travelling down the stairs, the knowing if somebody's in there, and the gents urinating.
And the fact that you can't really prevent your shoulders from touching the walls as you walk through
you also corridors. Can't... The sink as well. Like, if you had one person in the cubicle, one person at the sink, and one person in the urinal, all three of those people doing their best will be within 1 metre of each other. Or 1.09 yards, or 39 inches, or 3.2 feet.
Wow, I'm going to have to re-listen to that in edit just to make sure that was correct. And I'm sure it will be. And I'll be sat there like this. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. He got him again.
He got him again.
But, like, when I was at the services today, they've, like, things have progressed from the very first time we all knew that we couldn't stand at the next urinal along anymore. Boo-hoo, how sad. But, you know how, like, before the event, everything seemed sort of quite natural that you wouldn't go and stand next to someone at a urinal. And that if you did do that, it would be a sort of, precursor to something, either, love or hate. It would, it's life's great tapestry. But now, the measures that they've taken to sort of make very clear that you're not supposed to be standing the next urinal along, in the first few weeks, it was just yellow and black tape. So, like, crime scene kind of esque.
Yeah.
And then they stepped up with some black bin liners a few weeks afterwards, each with a laminated sign, just in case someone was so tired from their M1, drive, that they forgot about Corona for a sweet hot darn minute and decided to piss on the sign. The sign would still become useful once it was wiped clean. That's brilliant. That for me is brilliant. Yeah. That shows forethought. And now it's quite ghostly. They've, at least two of the service stations I've been to this week, and I've got a picture of one of them, they've found bin bags that correlate to the colour of the urinal. So it looks a little bit like, and the shape is quite, like, they must have found the right shape as well to do it. So they're not, like, floating around in the fan breeze, or it's not, like, getting, covered in water from or splashback or whatever. But it's quite unsettling. It looks a little bit like sort of body bags, like urinals in, like they've been sort of sentenced to, it's like quite mortuary-esque.
Have you seen the picture of the urinal that's got a big bag over it, and then clearly they've had some kind of, like, drain failure, and it's all come straight back up the urinal?
And is it just like this big bag underneath?
It's like this huge kind of cylinder of
oh no,
of dehydrated piss.
Oh dear. No, I haven't, but that would be a good forfeit for a lost bet, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's disgusting.
You've got to eat the contents, or sit in the contents of this bag. But yeah, I just wanted to share that nice memento mori. Yeah, that was my experience this week.
Brilliant. Should we move on to toilet news?
Now let's just sit in that funk for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, exactly how we feel in this moment in time. Sweaty, confused. Might as well stick with it.
Welcome back. Please do not adjust or wipe clean your sets. We are back with toilet news. This time quite a wide-ranging date range. I've been scouring some of the lower depths of toilet history. I don't know what you've got, Will, but do you want to start us off?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, mine's just kind of linking into what I talked about in an episode before. I don't know if you remember when we were discussing NASA trying to get a toilet ready for sending up to the International Space Station happening in 2024. And it was just, so this is an article from Edition, so it's CNN Business. And it's NASA is offering $35,000 in prizes to design a toilet that will work on the moon. This article, weirdly, actually has some interesting points. It says that this is the first mission where a female astronaut is going to go to the moon. So that's part of the reason why they have to be extra sensitive in how they're designing this toilet.
I see.
There are 3 prizes. So the person that designs the best toilet gets 20 grand, and then second prize 10, third prize 5. So it says bonus points will be awarded to designs that can capture vomit without requiring the crew member to put his head or her head in the toilet, which I think is an interesting idea.
A vomit vac.
Yeah. It should be able to support a crew of 2 astronauts for 14 days and allow the transfer of the collected waste to storage or disposal outside the vehicle, which is interesting because that goes against what they were discussing last time.
Yeah, so they left their shit on the moon, didn't they? But no,
They did, but they said they wanted to take it back and they ideally wanted to be able to use the water and inside the
as
excrement.
drinking water.
As well, just as something, whether or not they use it to keep flushing through the toilet. It needs to use less than 70 watts of power and make less noise than the average bathroom fan. Weigh about 33 pounds on Earth and 0.12 cubic meters in volume. So yeah, there you go. If anybody out there has some ingenious, maybe you fashioned a toilet for some very specific circumstances of your own. And suddenly you're looking at that toilet and going, actually, my tiny arse, and I don't like throwing my poo away, and I like to get the water from it as well. Also, I do have issues where I throw up all the time, and these kind of like an upside down dog funnel, on the toilet would be
like a lampshade. Then
just comes out. Yeah, I think it is interesting.
There's going to be some Silicon Valley person out there who's trying to break through on the app scene, but actually, like, his most up-to-date and, like, critical work has been, not wanting to get out of bed while he plays RuneScape and just do the toilet where he lies. And, yeah, as you say, has a particularly bad projectile vomiting problem and lives in a part of the world that might be particularly less gravity inclined than the rest. I think that's how that works.
But, I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
20 grand for the top prize, even the third prize 5 grand. And I can't imagine there are many people poking their heads in at this.
I mean, I'm thinking that if you're an astronaut and you don't get, changed that much, perhaps just a sequence of tubes that you insert or, vacuum into your person, other than your mouth. The vomit thing is the only difficult part.
The vomit is the tricky one. Because I was thinking, why don't you, instead of having one toilet idea, why don't you give them options? So you can either have the tubes. So it's basically like you have like an attachment fitted to your arse and then your penis.
You're plugging yourself into the shitty matrix.
Yeah, and then you just go in, you just plug yourself in both ways, and then you just do your business, and then it kind of cleans you and does everything like that.
I'm all for
that. Because that would just require 2 tubes and some clever vacuum system. Or you also give them the option of wearing diapers, wearing nappies, but reusable nappies, which get washed with the water from the people that use the tube. So their poo and piss gets condensed down. They remove the moisture, they purify it, and then they use that water to wash the nappies of the astronauts that have so chosen to use that method.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a little bit like we could be using all 3 techniques on the same flight.
Yeah.
And then that seems a bit shitty for the people who've saved all their water up just for the purpose of cleaning their crew members' dirty diapers.
Yeah, but we're all together, aren't we, And it's like, yeah, and you can rotate, you just have to have an even number.
Do I run the risk of jeopardising our own chances by mentioning the fact that has P-Ball already done this?
Yeah,
and Shiwi has a very nicely designed tube, and it is quite sensitive, I'd say.
No, but P-Ball will then turn it into a biodegradable gel, which will then probably be more of a nuisance on.
Things don't biodegrade very well in a vacuum, do they? I imagine.
Not particularly, no.
But it's such a shame that, the idea of, the fact that they are bringing their literal shit back home, there is something really satisfying about. Being on, as you said, being on an airplane and your shit just being sucked out into the, the effectual atmosphere. And you just imagine that in space that would be somehow more terrific. I don't know how much you know about the Apollo 13 journey, I think they spent longer on the flight than was originally planned, and they obviously didn't land on the moon, and their oxygen tank exploded, and that meant that they had to use their lander as like a life craft, and they were like basically running on empty. And like, I think I remember in the film their sweat like freezing as it came off their head because they didn't have power enough to heat the vessel. But like, they obviously didn't land on the moon, so they obviously didn't put their poos on the moon. I'm just thinking, where would that have gone? Like, if there was no more space, would they have just floated around in their own shit?
It probably just freezes and then just drifts off, and it just gets picked up by the giant space sharks that are out there.
And like the narrative of South Park and Mr. Towley, not Mr. Towley. Who do I mean? Who's the poo in South Park?
Hanky the Christmas
Hanky
poo.
Panky. And like Mr. Hanky Panky the Christmas poo, you just, turns up every now and again, says hello and floats off. I love space. It's such a wonderful thing to think about, isn't it?
I rather think about it as like this kind of metaphysical world that I don't ever need to know, but I can just look up and make myself feel slightly less significant, which is useful. And when I hear people travelling up there, I just get more depressed about the idea of just being like, how many people are starving, how many people are dying of dehydration, and you're just fucking spending how much money going up to, it's just revolt. Yeah, when you look at the money.
You're absolutely right. To be honest, not in any way in defence of spending that much money on a government, basically what is a government agency for exploration, but like, over the past 40 years, the reason we haven't been back, or 50, the reason we haven't been back to the moon, is because there hasn't been, the right time to put that money into finding the technology. So now that you've got people like Elon Musk and Branson and stuff who are like effectively fanboys and have too much money, they're the ones that are sort of taking the helm.
Well, I understand a lot of it's becoming private. I understand that there's that kind of there's that side of it. But it's just, I just think it's an unfathomable collection of wealth. And the only argument I've ever when we start talking about Elon Musk and Richard Branson, you start bringing in the conversation of kind of like selfish entertainment. And that's a conversation that had never been entered into the argument of, and it's very difficult to argue with someone who's going, well, it's my money and I want to do it. And it's like, well, okay, I can be against that, but you do what you want to do. But when it became like, like a national thing, I often had people who argued that they were like, oh yeah, but do you not understand like the technological advancements we've had sending people to the moon, like the amount of things that we learn. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting argument if you think that we're at the technological level that you feel we need to be, or do you feel that we've dramatically accelerated to the point where we've completely forgotten about our ecosystem, we've completely forgotten about what is important, and that's life, and you're suddenly valuing the idea, because that trajectory is only going to be a pyramid. It's only going to crush people down and raise very small people up, and it will just, it's a disproportionate split of wealth created with one industry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's interesting seeing it as a trickle-down version of science. However, that's a very, very long conversation. It's a great news story. I like the fact that we're going to be touching base on this when someone's won 25 grand for designing a vacuum.
Yeah, that's going to be sick.
Yeah, it will be interesting.
Well up for that. Right, what have you brought?
A man sprays toilet papering teens with fox urine. This was in 2008 in Wilmar, Minnesota. A 50-year-old man who told authorities he was fed up with teens toilet papering his house decided to defend his property with a squirt gun filled with fox urine. That first paragraph starts a lot of questions for me. The first one is,
where did he get the fox urine from?
Yes, that's the biggest one, isn't it? Really. The second question is what have the police done about this? They've obviously.
I don't think the police need to get involved, do they?
Not particularly, but like
an old man has taken crime into his own hands.
He's not even that old. He's 50. Like
a 50-year-old man has taken crime into his own hands, similar to that of, Batman. But this is Fox Pierce Man.
Yeah, this is Fox Man. He screeches.
Much less violent than Batman.
only comes out when everyone's trying to sleep and makes the most excruciating noises.
God, yeah.
Don't they have...
mimics rape.
Attaches barbs to his member so that
God.
anyone he touches with it is immediately lacerated. I've got this image of a slightly sort of like the house is so consumed with toilet paper that there's no light getting into the windows, and he's like pacing the floor and he's just trying to imagine like how ferocious he can look, and the only thing he's got in his cupboard is his mum's like dead fox shawl, which he like wraps around him, and he's like maybe even naked, and like still doesn't answer the question where he got fox urine. And
also I'm on the old man's side. I don't want to make him look like a...
Well, no, I'm still on his side. Are you kidding? That's the best outfit for a renegade.
God. But at least the naked part, I think. He needs to be wearing some pants.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Because otherwise he's like a taxidermy...
Like a Y, like just a plain white Y front. And he's somehow got... I think there are like domestic foxes in America, but I don't know how common they are. It's Minnesota, isn't it? So it's quite, cold. So maybe it's an Arctic fox. But it is very strange, isn't it? It is rather peculiar.
Yeah. Any more to the article? Any more to digest?
Someone went to court. I mean, it got serious.
No!
Yeah, someone went to court. I don't know the eventuality of it.
You'd have to, afterwards, you would just be like, did you throw piss on them? You'd just be like, no, I didn't. Oh. Well, they're all saying you did they? Okay, that's what this court's for, isn't it? Can you prove it? Do any of them still have any of the urine on them?
Oh my God, he used night vision goggles.
He crept up on them with night vision goggles.
He was on his property, so he went to court.
A real vigilante.
He went to court because he was seen tackling one of the teenagers and spraying them with fox urine. He swore at them. A phone message was left on his home. Oh, bless. Yeah, it has got quite significantly worse. So he is like Batman. Your premonitions were correct. Whether or not he's got a butler, the butler was probably the guy that went and got the piss. But just every single sequence in that story is questionable, except throwing toilet paper over someone's house. Did you ever do that as a kid at school?
No.
Did you ever paper someone's car?
The closest thing to that I did was, you get those party poppers.
Uh-huh.
You pull string one end, confetti comes out the other.
Yeah.
Well, you take it apart, and you've just got the string and the popper, and then you sellotape one bit to the door, then the bit to the frame,
right.
And then when the teacher then opens the door, it bangs like a pop. Right. Smells like smoke.
So it's like one of you shot her as she enters the room.
Yeah, it's just basically more to kind of like, if you fancied a free period and you had a particularly kind of old twitchy teacher, just tempting fate a little bit,
We had a teacher called Mrs. Torpederson, which is one of the best names ever for a female teacher.
Mrs. Torpederson.
Yeah, it sounds like torpedo son, but it's obviously Swedish or Danish or some shit.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Can we check in temperature-wise? How are you feeling?
Unbelievably sweaty.
How are your arms looking? Yeah. Dehydrated.
Thirsty, sweaty, dehydrated. Definitely heavier. I feel like my face is the epitome of shine.
Right, yeah. There's a little gleam on there as well.
Whether you can see my forehead.
Look at that. That's a gleam.
Topic toilets. Topic toilets. Topic toilet.
Have a topic. Have a toilet. Kit Kat.
So that was a phrase, not a phrase. I suppose what you'd call a skit that Alex and I've been working on for a few months.
Yeah, that was third draft, fourth draft. Can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the topic toilet where we talk about a topic around toilets. This week is childhood toilets.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think, are we specifically doing our own toilets like that we grew up with?
I don't want to turn this into a competition so early, but how many toilets did you have in your house as a child?
Oh, wow. I grew up in one house, and
As did I.
And when I moved out, that was my parents then sold the house later on,
Right.
which meant that
Did they then move into the house with the sink in the bedroom?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I didn't grow up there. So that's in Eastbourne. So I grew up in Maidstone. And in this one, there was one toilet and one ensuite in my parents' room.
Right.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, so two toilets.
But two toilets is enough.
But one basically inaccessible. Were your parents quite strict about their?
They weren't strict, but like, why would you go into their toilet? It's just it was It's more. It is their pride. Yeah, we were as a family, we were quite good at keeping our space, having our private space.
It's quite a lot to unpack there, Will. From a psychological point of view, that it was off limits just as a means of, what really is manners. What really are manners.
But the words off limits is language that you've used. It's nothing that I've used.
I am projecting.
Because I would never say that it was off limits. It was just, if I needed to use the toilet, I'd go. If I had friends round, I wouldn't show them that toilet to use.
Yeah.
Because it would just be strange. It had that room had a shower. The other room had like a bath and a shower thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice. It was absolutely fine. It was full of old papers. It was more just kind of like I felt it was just like my mum and dad's zone. Like it's like when you live with someone for so long and you have your schedules, you kind of have your routines of toilet use. And so it kind of just lived in their kind of micro universe. And then I just would only ever use it out of necessity.
Yes.
Our main toilet was fine. It went through I think when they were thinking of selling the house towards the end, they invested some money in it. It was very white. The most amazing thing about it, in fact, the two most amazing things about that bathroom, one, it had like a really nice airing cupboard where the boiler, and it's like the only, I have not lived in a house with an airing cupboard since living in that one.
You're taking me back.
It's where you kept your towels, they were warm. It was nice. It was just nice. We also had a tap when they invested in a tap, and if you imagine like a completely rectangular kind of metal tube coming out, then like that, and then you cut off the top half, so it's like a waterfall.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And so you'd lift it up. And this was like, I think we got this tap like around the time when they, like maybe like a year before they started becoming commercial, because loads of people would come and be like, oh my God.
It showed up in quite a lot of like boutique Indian restaurants.
That exact thing. And it was quite fun to put your finger on and play with. And it was actually quite an engaging way of making people want to wash their hands, I guess. It was nice. There was we had a window.
Nothing like a pandemic or an open top tap to make you want to wash your hands.
I have many fondness of this toilet, but just because it's obviously the one I grew up in. As a kid, I don't know whether you guys have like a little stool that you put your feet on, so that you can poo, and then said stool never left the bathroom because because in one, it's just. Like,
so many similarities here. Well,
it's not causing anyone any harm.
Yes.
And two, if you're having a bad poo, you can put your feet up, and it's a slightly better posture.
It elevates your knees, and
elevates your knees, so it's better for you to.
It's quite a tall stool, then. Or is your toilet seat quite low down?
Neither. Neither is the answer to that question. We had like magazines, papers. I remember I got my dad a book. I don't know whether I got him actually.
Well ventilated. Are we talking window?
Somewhere, there was a lovely window that looked out to the garden. That was really nice to have. It was really nice to have open and have a bath in.
Right.
And we had a book.
Yeah.
I think the only book that was in there, because again, this is like back before you become kind of hyper aware of bacteria and spreading, especially with the coronavirus. And
all I think about, mate.
But we had a book, and it's marketing. It's like USP was the fact that its front cover and back cover was waterproof. It was like toilet facts for the bog in a completely waterproof book covering.
I see. Okay.
So you could wipe it down, and it had a lot of facts that I have learned throughout my life are incorrect.
Excellent.
Just because I think it was a book that was kind of created as a novelty. It wasn't actually meant to kind of be read and understood.
It was done by someone on minimal research wage.
On minimal research. I then spent a lot of time on the toilet. I probably didn't read that much, so that's probably the book I read the most.
Okay.
And then, as a result, was regurgitating, like, for example, the Thomas Crapper fact was in that book.
Oh, really? The one that you read out last time?
Yeah, it wasn't Thomas Crapper that invented the toilet. What else was it? Oh yeah, the fact that OK meant all correct, but that's actually not where it came from. It didn't come from a previous president of the United States getting all correct incorrect. You know what I mean? Like, it was just full of inaccuracies. But yeah, overall, that is the toilet I grew up with.
I've got a very, very distinct image of it, and I'm glad that you gave us a quick glance, as if you were touring us through your home into your parents' bedroom. Just a quick look in here. Don't worry, don't use that one. But that's all the papers, and yeah. Very nice. Yeah, there were a few things that you said that reminded me and it's just nice to reminisce, isn't it? And jointly reminisce about stuff. And I think it shows that we're becoming, old beyond our age.
It's the heat, man. I'm sweating years out of me. It's probably the
heat, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, our 2 toilets, because we have 2 toilets as well. Still, that my mum's still in the same house.
Lovely.
I lived in a different house, I think, for the first year I was born, but I don't have any memory of it because it was the first year I was born. But I lived in this house in Edinburgh, and it was a very sort of like new build, sort of 60s or 70s new build. Downstairs is a very small toilet, and it's changed quite considerably over the years. It was originally like a yellow room, so like it matched the toilet and the sink, which were also like mustard yellow. And upstairs it was like a purely white toilet, but the seat has since changed to like a faux wood experience. Now, I always have preferred to go upstairs. I think the original seat upstairs was like plastic, but the seat is flat. It's a flat seat. And downstairs, there's like a kink in the toilet seat, but it's like in a really... Curved. Yeah, but like not even curved. It's like got like a ridge.
Yep.
Which is quite uncomfortable. Like, I think it's there to sort of...
Designed by somebody who hates the world. Yeah.
Exactly, and hates their experience on the toilet. But it's quite a unique downstairs loo, this yellow one, because it is just... Now, at least, it is bizarrely unique, because I think it was my sister that designed the redecoration, and like you've now got this blue tube logo stripe around the centre of the room. I think it might also have been changed recently because it was just so garish. But like, and apologies if you're listening, Becky, but like the turquoise blue with this sort of like navy blue stripe in the middle of the bathroom with this like garish mustard yellow set. It's
I love it. I think that sounds sick.
It's quite bizarre. And then basically the cistern, I think the handle broke. So my mum replaced the cistern with a plank of wood, the lid of the cistern, with like it's like basically, like pull ties, plastic pull ties.
Yep.
So it's like basically that with like a black handle in the middle, and it's like a yank up. So we've got a unique flush on our toilet, which is homemade, and it's very like uniquely homemade. And Mum does these really cute notes when anything's broken or needs to be fixed, or like she needs to leave instructions for people. And they're in such small handwriting, and for a while it remained there, this tiny little post-it note saying, pull not too hard, keep your hand on the lid, on the wooden lid. And it's just delightful. And it really is, like, it takes me back just thinking about things like that. Go on.
Just to go with the post-it notes thing, my parents do a very similar thing. When they first moved into their house in Eastbourne, they there'd be like a window that maybe didn't lock or something.
Right,
so like a post-it note being like, do not lock. Also, you probably shouldn't be putting that on a window. But but then they started learning Spanish. And so which is a very clever way to learn a language, get it integrated in your system. put post-it notes on everything of like the Spanish version of what that is. But it meant that when I
Okay.
first went round the house, I just was just like, I can't understand. Everything is broken, and I can't understand what the post-it notes are trying to say.
But it was basically your home insurance was resting on there not being a Spanish thief running around
Yeah.
Kent at a particular time. Oh man, that's so funny. Oh man. Yeah, so upstairs is like a bathroom, bath shower combo, toilet. Everything is in white. There's quite this like sort of like faded marble tiling on the wall.
Nice.
I think the rest of the bathroom might have had wallpaper on it once, but that's now been stripped, and Mum put up like this sort of wooden border, like chest high border, or like around the room. The sink is like brilliant. We had a lovely mirror in that room, which has moved from vertical to horizontal. I now can't see into the mirror. It's too small for me. So like when I go home, I have to like crouch down like this so that I can look in the mirror. And it's the memory I have particularly of this room is finishing a shower, being like told, even if my mum is at the other side of the house, to wipe down the shower so that it doesn't get mouldy, and open the window so that the things can escape. Because I never used to open the window. I loved the steam. I loved and the last memory I'll tell you about in this bathroom was one of the only times I was sick as a kid that I can remember, at least. And it was after eating spinach at dinner. And I remember this because like I used to not like spinach very much. But Mum had made it in a different way than she usually did, and I ate it really quickly so that I got rid of it. And I ate it so quickly that I felt very ill. And I remember just going upstairs and like almost perspective-wise, there was almost too much. There shouldn't have been that much. I didn't eat that much. And I just remember seeing, I think I can leave it to the imagination of our listeners.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Next. I wonder if my parents will remember that. Maybe not.
It's fun, isn't it, those small moments you have as a kid? Because I think I remember when me and my dad both had salmonella, shitting and pissing and throwing up.
What, at the same time?
At the same time, yeah, all in one toilet. It was horrible.
Wait, you shared the toilet?
Yeah, we both went into my parents' bedroom and were being looked after by my mum, and then we just kind of one by one woke out of our feed
okay.
poisoning comas.
At the same time is what I meant. You weren't like sharing a half each.
No. Right, you happy with that?
I've got one last question actually.
Yes. Go.
Do you have a memory of being washed in your sink? Like the whole of you being in the sink?
No, I don't have that memory.
Because I sometimes think about that when I go home. It's that I remember, like, of course it would have happened with you, I imagine, unless you were 6 foot when you came, out.
No, I can confirm that I wasn't.
No, good. At least.
No, I remember I used to share bath water with my mum. I remember doing that. I remember thinking there was a period of time where I thought that was weird. Then there was a period of time where I then realised that it was okay.
Yeah, I still do that with Louise. She doesn't really like it, Louisa. She doesn't share mine, by the way. That's not the way around this is going. But yeah, no, I think she's a bit weirded out by that, which is fair enough because
I personally would rather just have my own bath water because a bath is like a relaxing occasion where you can kind of have. Yeah, you should be able to dictate the state and environment that you're in.
Exactly.
But I think it was just to save on heating and save on water and just why the fuck not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've stopped being so sort of verbal about that idea when it comes into my head now because of watching certain vegan documentaries that give over the fact that you're wasting far more water eating a burger or a Big Mac than you are having a bath. Just to bring it back to a preachy note. But it is weird sometimes going back to the house, looking at the sink and going, I was in there once, being presumably the same thing that happens to your cat, just to make sure I wasn't getting bits of poo on my bum. My parents were probably, cutting all the hair away from
I assume Louisa does it for you now, does she?
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, good.
I get in my handstand at the front door, and she comes over. It's where the best lighting is, and yeah.
Whew. Excellent. Right, do you have any hope for the futures?
That I can open this fucking window.
Hopes for the future.
I have only one, and it's that I can open this window. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
My hope for the future is that
Gets colder.
No. I'm quite enjoying the heat, actually.
Gets
if I'm being honest.
colder.
My hope for the future, Will, is that I discover a new whiskey that I'd never even discovered ever before, and it works in both old fashions and drinking neat. That's my That's my wish.
Yeah, that's gonna be difficult because you need one that's like has a peatiness that only that dissipates when presented with sweetness
And ice. And coldness. Yeah. Or it's just going to be fucking strong, you know.
Oh, it's going to be fucking strong, yeah.
What about you?
My hope for the future is either that it gets to a decent temperature that I feel like I don't have to have a shower every 2 hours, which I don't do, because what's the point? Because 2 hours later you'll feel like you need to have another one. Or so it's either that it gets to a decent temperature, I will accept 18 degrees. I think that is a reasonable temperature for us to survive. I've just had enough of it. Or I hope that it goes from where we are now, which is like 29, 30 degrees, up to like 47 degrees.
Okay.
And suddenly
the weak perspire and die. Is that what you...
No, basically, I want it to be too hot so that even though I've just been unfurloughed from work, it's too hot to work. Everybody has to be sent home.
Okay.
And the entire country's economy freezes again.
So basically what you're hoping for is like a return to winter or apocalypse.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
You do realise if we go up to 47 degrees, we're basically, a Gulf state. So we could hopefully in the next 100 years, if we're alive that long, and you know what, science is keeping people alive every day nowadays, we could strike oil. Who knows? The grass that no longer will exist in the next 2 years might decompose into oil. And then we'll all be rich.
That'd be great, yeah.
How fantastic.
Perfect.
I have a suggestion if you feel so bad that you need to shower every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just to bring it back into the idea mix, if you run a cold bath in the morning, get into it and then leave the water in there, and every 2 hours get in and out of the bath, it will stay mildly, cold all day. Keep topping it up with ice, because that's not really wasting water. And then
sounds horrible.
You'll stay wet and cool all day.
That sounds disgusting. I'm not going to do that, but thank you for
your kitchen floor is wiped clean, isn't it? You could get wet and then just lie on that and sort of dry. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to waste towel.
All of these they're wonderful suggestions, Alex. Thank you for bringing them to my attention. I'm just going to continue complaining about it.
Very good.
For probably another 2 weeks, and then it'll
stop. I thought that might be what you choose.
Yeah. It's classic, isn't it? Yeah, classic. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
I hope you've enjoyed it.
We're on Instagram and Twitter, you idiots.
We totally are, yeah. Talking Toilets _
Yeah.
Facebook.
Talking Tea Podcast.
Perfect. And then email address.
talkingtoiletspodcast@gmail.com.
We wait in eager anticipation for your next email. Excellent. Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope you're out there kind of staying as safe as you possibly can, ideally avoiding unnecessary exposure. However, the government seems to be allowing us to open up again, and let's just hope that they're following the science, which we all know they haven't been doing from the beginning. So, have a wonderful week.
Have a wonderful week, and remember, it's there. Even if it's in handle or weird plastic strap form, motion, or like headbutting it, or the chain, or doing it with your bare hands, keep flushing.
Keep flushing.